I wrong for choosing not to pay for my daughter's university fees despite paying for her brother's? My 57 male, daughter Jane, 21 female, recently has been accepted into the university of her choice. Now, me and my wife, 55 male, are glad with the news. The only thing is that Jane got accepted to do an English degree. Now, Jane, compared to her two brothers, Mark 28 and Leo 30, was quite late in applying to university. When me and my wife asked her to start at 18, she claimed she was not ready and wanted to have a little rest. A little rest being going out with friends and traveling the whole of last year with her boyfriend. It should be noted that I supplied Jane with all of the money needed for her little rest. Now, me and my wife have nothing against Jane doing what she did. She's young, and young people live to explore and do what they do. However, before me and my wife allowed for Jane to do her thing, we made her promise that when she did apply to university, it was for a degree that was worth it. Jane was going through a weird phase where she wanted to be many things that were more on the creative side. Fast forward a year later, we found out that Jane's gone behind our backs and applied for an English degree. Both Leo and Mark took medical degrees and are now very good, well-paid doctors. One would think that this would motivate Janet to go on the same path, but instead she decided to be herself. I sat down Jane last night and told her that if she decided to go through with the English degree, I would not support her at all, and she would have to take out her own student loan. At this, she began crying, claiming that I was the worst dad ever, and had always favored her brothers over her because I had paid for their university fees. Now, this is totally incorrect. I literally paid for her travel all of last year. My sons think that I'm being too harsh and that I should simply support Jane regardless of what she chooses, but is it too much to ask of my daughter to follow through with an actual useful degree? No, my daughter's year of travel does not add up to her brother's tuition fees, not even close. For those wondering, I work as a cardiologist. Me not wanting my daughter to do an English degree is not because I'm sexist, but because I want her to do something useful which she can live off of instead of depending on me for the rest of her life. I get that. I do 100% understand that. I don't even know if this is something she really wants to do or if it's another way of trying to rebel against me.
What I had is called a cryptic pregnancy, which means I did not know that I was pregnant with Finley until I was delivering her. I know that sounds pretty crazy, but it does happen, and I'm obviously a pretty slight person, and I never showed, I never looked any different, I never had any symptoms. She never moved because she was tucked in my rib cage, because my uterus is in my rib cage, which I had no way of knowing beforehand. I had been told that I had an ovarian cyst by a healthcare professional, and so I didn't really ever question any of the symptoms that I had, because every symptom that I did have was explainable. Like having really light periods was because I was skipping my placebo week on my birth control, and so I was trying to skip my periods, and so I did have light spotting throughout the whole thing, but my goal was not to have a period, so I didn't question when I didn't have a period. I didn't gain weight, I didn't really have any differences in my body or any symptoms that weren't explainable by any other situation. So basically what happened was that it started Saturday night. I started having cramps, and I was dog sitting at someone else's house. So I went back to this house that I was dog sitting at because I had dinner with my family for my mom's birthday on Saturday night, and I went back to the house I was dog sitting at, took some ibuprofen, figured it's gonna go away, it's fine, it's just period cramps. My periods have always been super, super irregular my entire life, and so I didn't really question that maybe it wasn't the exact timing that I was supposed to have a period, or I didn't really question it at all, because, it's just the way that I'm kind of used to things being with me and my body. Hi, Gooby. What is wrong? You want this? You want that? Yeah, there you go. So then I wake up about 4 a.m. Sunday morning with these cramps. They're just getting worse, but then they go away. And so I'm like, okay, fine, we're good, And then I worked 7 to 10 a.m. that morning, and that shift was hell. It was so bad. I only worked a 3-hour shift because I work a split shift on Sundays. I work 7 to 10, 4 to 6. I called out of my 4 to 6 part of that shift because I just could not do it. I was in so much pain, and so I thought that my ovarian cyst had ruptured. So I went back to my house, the house that I actually live in, and I grabbed my Epsom salts to take a bath with to try and relieve the pain. So I probably got back to the house that I was dog sitting at about 12, around noon. So I got in the bath. It just keeps picking up. It keeps getting worse and worse and worse, and I'm just like, this is bad. There's something wrong about this, and it's bad to the point that I'm hallucinating because of the pain. I'm screaming because of the pain, and I am not a little bitch when it comes to pain, but this made me a little bitch. I guess it wasn't, because it's childbirth, so I guess that's an excuse, right? Yeah, you pushed your big old noggin right out of my coochie. Yeah, you did. So, anyways. Hey, what is your problem, huh? I'm trying to tell a story here, and you're interrupting me, and that's not very nice of you. Very nice to interrupt people. Anyways, so... Really? Really? So, anyways, I'm not sure what she wants right now. Give me a moment. Okay, so anyways, I go back to the house that I'm dog sitting at, get in the bath. It keeps getting worse. I eventually end up feeling to see if I can feel anything being wrong, and I feel her head. And that was the moment that I realized what was happening, was when I felt her head I felt her hair. That's a very unsettling feeling, gotta say. And so that's when I realized, and, you know, I should have called 911 at that point, but I didn't, because I was in such shock that it didn't even cross my mind that that's something that I should have done until afterwards. And so I continued to have her by myself. As soon as I had gotten her out and gotten her delivered, she wasn't breathing. She was like dark purple. She wasn't moving, so I had to give her CPR. I had to give her mouth to mouth. I knew how to do that because my dad's an EMT, and so he had, like, I've seen him show people how to do this because he teaches CPR classes. So I had a basic understanding of what I needed to do. And then my placenta wasn't delivering after about an hour, and so I was just like, this is not safe. I am heavily bleeding, like bleeding way more than what the internet said was cool. Oh yeah, because I was doing my Google searches in between contractions to figure out what the hell I was supposed to be doing, you know. And so I was bleeding a lot more than I should have, and I understand that I probably should have used a sanitary device to cut the umbilical cord, but I had no other option, and so I ended up having to bite it off and tied it with hair tie. So I did the best I could given the circumstance I had. I know that medical professional might not say that that was a good idea because it's not sanitary, but it was all I knew how to do, as I am a 17-year-old giving birth, and I obviously have no idea what I'm doing. So I would say I did a pretty good job. So, but basically, you know, I ended up calling my friend instead of calling 911 after I had her, and I was like, look what just happened. And she was like, dude, I'm coming over. Came over. She's like, you need to call 911. I don't care. You need to call them. And I was like, no, my dad's going to find out. And so I was in such a state of shock, and I had lost so much blood that my thought process obviously wasn't working right. And I was like, my dad's going to find out. He works for the fire department. If he finds out, he's going to kill me. This is so bad. Like, I have to surrender her somewhere, and I have to pretend this never happened. That was my mindset, you know? Obviously I didn't realize I was dying. So we ended up about 2 hours after I had her, so around 7 p.m. that night, Sunday night, ended up calling 911, and they came, and they all immediately recognized me. They were like, oh, you're Richardson's kid. And I was like, yeah, you know my dad. Sorry, you know. The way that they told my dad was that they called him and they said, congratulations, Grandpa, it's a girl. And my dad did not know that I was pregnant, so obviously he was like, what the fuck are you talking about, right? So, you know, my family has been very supportive of me throughout this entire thing. It's been a really amazing experience. I love Finn more than I have ever loved anything in my life, and I'm very grateful that I had her in the way that I did, because I wasn't planning on ever having kids, and I don't think I would have gotten to experience this love if I didn't have her the way that I did. Finn does have she has a syndrome. It's called Klippel-Feil syndrome. This usually presents in 2 or 3 of the cervical spine vertebrae being fused, so 2 or 3 of the vertebrae in the neck being fused together. Finn has all 7 fused, which is practically unheard of. It's incredibly rare to an already rare congenital disorder. It's not genetic. It has nothing to do with my genetics or her dad's genetics. So she's got all 7 fused, which means she's got a pretty long road ahead of her. If you think it's also known as short neck syndrome, you think of Big Ed from 90 Day Fiancé is kind of the same vibe. I hate to say that to you, Finley, but it's true. But she is just the most amazing, darling, sweet, perfect thing I have ever done with my entire life. And the way that she came into this world was obviously less than ideal, but I wouldn't change a thing about having her around now. You know, we're just gonna have to grow up together, and I think that that's a really beautiful thing, and I appreciate everybody's kind words and all the support they've offered.
can hear my neighbor talk to his cat. Every day when my neighbor comes home from work, he unlocks his door and says, "Hello, Kevin," and Kevin the cat meows back in greeting.
Sweet.
Our apartment building is small, and I can hear nearly everything that happens in the communal hallways in my living room. I don't know my neighbor at all, not even his name, but I know his cat. My neighbor also likes to smoke a lot of weed. No shame, I like to indulge too, just not every day. I work from home and live alone, but hearing "Hello, Kevin" has become a part of my routine. It makes me smile every time. Yesterday, I heard the normal "Hello, Kevin" greeting and Kevin's meow. I later smelled the blunt he smoked, then I heard him go into the laundry room and come back, but then heard something odd. Kevin's meowing was super loud and he sounded pissed. I waited a little while, but Kevin persisted. I opened up my door and saw Kevin outside the neighbor's door. He was practically screaming and jumping up to hit the door with his little paws. Inside the apartment, I heard my neighbor echoing Kevin's cries. Meow, meow. My neighbor sounded frantic and desperate, calling "Kevin" over and over again. I walked up to the door and knocked. I heard my neighbor pause, then quietly, with amazement and perhaps fear, repeat, "Kevin?" At last minute, I decided to dart back into my apartment and softly close the door, listening while my neighbor let Kevin in. He whispered, "How did you do that, Kevin?" I've been laughing to myself about it since it happened, imagining my stoned, out of his mind neighbor contemplating how his cat human knocked on his door. XXX. There is a little bit of an edit. It's just, "Hello everyone. I'm so glad this brought joy to other people. It makes me so happy that this has been a bright spot in people's day. I'm dumbfounded by how much attention this has gotten. Thank you so much for the awards. I wish I could respond to every comment and tell you how amazing I think you are. I'm a longtime Reddit user, and I never thought some dumb thing I did would make so many people laugh. I don't have many pictures of Kevin to share. I don't want to invade his privacy. I only see him when he monitors my trips to and from my car, but I can give a description of what he looks like. Kevin is a small cat with long grayish hair. He looked fluffy, but not chunky. He was very skittish and kept his distance, so I think he's probably pretty shy and aloof. He has tremendously big eyes, but I'm not sure if that's his panicked look or not. Maybe, since he was locked out. I added that maybe part. I hope everyone has a great day, week, life. Give your pets a pat for me.
Exactly how you're gonna get over your situationship or that person you never dated or even someone you did date. First things first, no contact. I'm such a believer in no contact because it works. So what I mean by that is no fucking contact. Like mute their number, mute their social media, mute everything that you possibly can, and don't reach out and communicate with that person. The reason no contact is so successful is because it gives you time and space away from that person to actually really process what the fuck just happened, and for you to have time to really understand the situationship or whatever you were just in. I am so big on no contact because every time I do it, I, one, protect my energy so my energy isn't getting wasted writing those dumbass paragraphs that we know nobody's fucking reading. Or two, it gives me time to not act so irrational. I'm a bitch who will tell you I'll light your fucking house on fire, but once I decide to go no contact, I'm pulling my energy back and I'm pulling my energy away, and then I get the time to reflect on everything that just happened. I'm a huge on no contact. Me personally, I'm no contact to the day I fucking die. Like if we end things, there is no reason for me to even be on your Instagram or anything like that. I don't give a fuck about you anymore. We're done. You're not in my life, so get the fuck away. And we definitely don't need to communicate anymore, that's for sure. I understand everyone has different situations, so it's figure out your situation and then go no contact. You're not going to heal in a place that hurt you, and in this situation it's probably that person, so you're not going to heal or get over someone while you keep fucking texting them or talking to them or see their Instagram stories. It's not petty to block or mute or do any of those things. Put yourself first and protect your energy. The next thing you're going to do to get over that person is you're going to learn your fucking worth. Like a lot of times we settle for these whack ass motherfuckers because that's what we think we deserve, and we don't really have a self-worth or self-love for ourselves. If you're constantly stressed, crying, or distraught over a relationship and you're feeling insecure, you're not feeling great with the person that you're with, it means it's time to fucking go and know your goddamn worth. Know that you deserve to be treated better than what that person is giving you, and just know that there will be someone out there who will give it to you. Most importantly, give that shit to yourself. You gotta realize there's a man out there or a person out there who's better than the person that has showed you over and over again that they don't want you, but you're holding on to the idea of them and not even them in general, which is another fucking thing. Kill the hope. Kill the hope. A lot of times we're not hung up on people, we're hung up on the idea of what they could have been. You're stuck on the, oh my god, well he could have been this, he could have been my boyfriend, we could have had this amazing relationship. Well, guess what? You're fucking not. He didn't want you. Keep it moving. Go to what I was saying. We hold on to the idea of what a relationship could have been instead of that actual person and how they treated you. So kill that hope in your head of what could have been. Like, let go of the, well, it could have been this, it could have been that. Well, guess what? It fucking wasn't. And that's okay, but once you let go of the hope of what this could have been, it's a lot easier to get over that person. I also think you know deep down inside that you're not supposed to be with that person, but you're just choosing not to listen. So like, why aren't you listening? Women are intuitive as fuck. So why are you not listening to your intuition? It's because you have the hope of this person being something that they're actually not. Back to knowing your worth. If you wouldn't let your best friend be treated the way that man was treating you or that person was treating you, why would you let yourself be treated that way? Like, if you found out that man or that person was doing those actions to your best friend and your relationship was like your best friend's relationship, I know for fuck's sake you would have something to say about it. So why are you letting that happen to yourself? It is definitely because you have little to no self-worth, but your self-worth should look a little something like this. You should be like, I deserve the fucking world, so I'm not gonna settle until I get that. You don't want me? Cool, I'm leaving. Or you're not treating me the way that I deserve to be treated because I'm a fucking queen and I have standards for myself and you're not living up to those standards and you're making me feel like shit. Great, I'm gonna walk the fuck away because guess what? I know I can do better. Not even know that you could do better, know that you deserve better. Take the time to love yourself and understand yourself the way they wouldn't. The next tip is probably my favorite. You need to realize how powerful your energy is and start acting like it. For example, I know my energy is so amazing that if someone gets to experience my energy and then they walk out of my life, they're going to feel my energy missing almost every single fucking day. Because I know I went into this situation with the best intentions. I did all that I could do. I was open, I was loving, I was caring. I gave all of me. So they got to experience that energy and they got to experience an amazing part of me that most people never will. And now they have to live a life without my energy. And I feel bad for them. Not bad enough to get back together with them, but bad enough to be like, God, that sucks that you lost an amazing person like me in your life. It does. And trust me, they'll feel your energy missing. They'll try and have talks with you and they'll be like, hey, like, let's just talk real quick. And you'll probably be at the healing point where you're like, I actually don't give a single fuck about you anymore. Because I'm putting so much self-love and self-worth into myself that I realize you were just a chapter in my book. You weren't the finale. You weren't any of those things. You were just a quick little chapter and I'm so much better without you. It's time to put yourself first and give yourself the love you know you deserve. And one day someone will come along and give you the love you know you deserved.
Am I wrong for neutering a cat that was clearly owned? I run a TNR program for feral cats. Nonprofit. What the hell's TNR? Let's Google that. Wait. TNR meaning trap, neuter, return. I catch all of the cats and get them the medical attention they need myself out of my own pocket. I love helping them. A lot of the cats are not able to be rehomed, so I fix them and release them, get them their shots, and hope for the best. I am not a large-scale operation. Recently, I was called to an area overrun with orange cats. They were everywhere, and I mostly ended up handing it over to professionals. I did, however, manage to grab 3 very sweet cats. 2 were terrified, skinny, a little beaten up, but overall friendly. The third one was a little gent. He was tubby, well-groomed, fish pattern collar, the works. My plan was to find his parents and drop him off with a warning to keep him in due to the large amount of traps being set. Then the little sprayed the inside of my car to the freaking max. So apparently he wasn't fixed. I couldn't really tell. He had long hair and assumed he was so, left my covers off. Big mistake. So apparently he wasn't fixed. I debated taking him home or taking him to get neutered with the rest. He was an indoor-outdoor cat, indicated by his collar tag, and with so many strays, I'm certain some were carrying his genetics. Ultimately, I took him with me and got him neutered. No chips, so I called the number on his tag and informed them where their cat was and gave them their time slots to pick him up or have him dropped off. The owners went ballistic. They were cursing me out and came to collect their cat not 20 minutes later, called me a kidnapper, blamed me for their child having nightmares, scared over their cat going missing. I tried to explain that he needed to be fixed if he was going to be outside, but they didn't want to know. They said I should have called immediately regardless. I spoke to my rescue friend who said I was in the wrong. Even though we know we are technically in the right, we didn't have the legal ground to do that and it wasn't my decision to make. I did apologize, but I have blocked their numbers. The mom is flaming me on Facebook and DMing people I know. I have a duty to care for stray cats. Me knowing an unneutered male was roaming free and not doing anything about it was a concern for the said stray cats.
months.
Things are still tense between my rescue buddy and I don't completely disagree. I know I crossed the line even if it was for the greater good. People are finding out and taking sides, so I'm not sure who to really believe was right here. So, am I the asshole? What?
Am I the asshole for getting my sister-in-law arrested on her wedding day? Throwaway. I, 24 female, and my husband, 24 male, have 3 dogs, 2 corgis and a Pomeranian.
Aww.
I rescued them from a puppy mill that was shut down about 6 months ago. They were all in horrible condition and had numerous medical issues. They are very friendly dogs and have adjusted to their new lives extremely well. My now sister-in-law, Amy, has met them a few times before the events occurred. Amy said she wanted them to be her ring bearer and flower girls for her wedding. Amy and I don't get along at all. She has said numerous hurtful and cruel things about me to my family and really anybody who will listen. I'm not even invited to the wedding as I would, quote, ruin the vibe. I told her she would not be using my dogs for her wedding for multiple reasons, including me not being invited. And they were all to have surgery a few days prior. They were all getting spayed as well as dental work. She wasn't happy about being told no. Now, to the event that happened a couple of weeks ago. All of my dogs had their surgeries on a Thursday. The wedding was on a Sunday in the evening. My husband and I left the house to go run some errands Sunday morning, and the dogs were home asleep. I got a notification on my phone about motion at my back door. I check it, and it is Amy opening the door and walking into the house. I started panicking and telling my husband we need to leave now and go back to the house. I show him the video, and he agrees. I start calling my brother and demanding for him to get his wife out of my house, and if she leaves with my dogs, I will call the police. He hung up on me. I got home and all of my dogs are gone and their cones were left in their crates. I called the police for theft and breaking and entering. The police arrived and I showed them the video of her getting into our house and leaving with the dog. I told them where her venue was as I had seen a copy of the invitation. The police made it to the venue and were able to locate all of my dogs. One had opened her stitches and was bleeding from the wound.
Oh.
My husband rushed her to an emergency vet to get the stitches closed. Amy was arrested in the middle of getting ready for her wedding and has been charged with a class 1 felony and a few misdemeanors. Now everybody is saying I ruined the wedding and I overreacted to the whole situation. I am also being told that I need to pay them back for the wedding since it never happened. I am refusing to pay anybody back as well as drop the charges.
My 37 male, wife 35 female was in a man's hotel room at 1:30 in the morning. My wife of nearly 10 years has a history of straying, but that was prior to marriage and only happened once. There have been other suspicious circumstances, including once when a man that she says was her designated driver stayed overnight at our apartment while I was out of town, but she insists nothing happened. Recently, my wife went to a work conference with several male colleagues. On the first night there, they all went out to bars. That went well past midnight. We share our locations on our phones and I hadn't heard from her, so I checked her location. She was at a hotel that wasn't hers. I FaceTimed her and she didn't pick up. I called again and she picked up with the phone facing towards the ceiling and wall corner, with her from the shoulders up. I heard a male voice for half a second and then complete silence. She was eating a slice of pizza. I asked her what she was doing and she said, eating pizza. I asked her where and she didn't answer. She looked nervous. I asked her to spin the phone around so I could see what was going on. She hung up instead. I called her back and she didn't answer. I called again and she picked up and was walking fast through a hotel hallway. She made it outside and we talked on the way back to her hotel. She was nervously grinning the entire way back. She was very drunk. She was acting sort of angry with me. I'm not sure about what. Angry I called? Angry at the obvious sort of implied situation? I asked her to explain the situation and she says that she left the bar with 2 male coworkers to return to a hotel room where another male coworker had pizza. She says that she didn't realize how the situation looked until I called her and that she then panicked. She says that she didn't pan the phone around because she knew I would be upset. When I pointed out that she immediately told me that she was there with 3 men, so what information was she hiding by not showing me the room? She then said that she didn't pan the phone around because it would have been embarrassing. I'm trying to figure this out and come to terms with whatever happened. My gut feeling is that maybe she is lying and there was only one man there and they were doing more than eating pizza or planning on it. Otherwise, my thought is that it is obviously inappropriate and crosses boundaries she knows that I have. So, at best, it is extremely disrespectful to me and our marriage. I'm trying to figure out if we should get divorced. She insists this is all because she wanted a slice of pizza. Is that realistic? Am I being gaslit? Please help.
My boyfriend, male 35, of 1 year, suggested he take me, female 32, for a Brazilian wax as a date idea. How do I tell him he made me feel uncomfortable? I asked my boyfriend if we could start going on more dates together. Over the past months, I felt like he stopped planning anything for us. I can't remember the last time we went out for dinner or he surprised me. Things have been feeling stagnant. So I suggested things like a painting or cooking class, a spa day, etc. He seemed uninterested in what I was saying and said he can't really afford any of those options. I do understand that, as he's a full-time student at the moment. But then he suggested he take me to get a wax, Brazilian. At first I laughed it off and said, when you do, but I was genuinely upset at the comment. He later told me he was just joking. For context, I do trim a couple of times a week. Now he's been annoyed and standoffish since I brought the date ideas up. He said he doesn't like being told what to do, that things should happen organically, and he feels he's not enough. I've tried to explain that this is my love language and the dates don't have to be expensive. He responded that he took me for burgers 3 months ago and that was him making an effort. I feel uncomfortable that he commented on my body like this. I feel like I'm asking too much of him. How do I get him to understand that I value and need quality time in a relationship? Am I the asshole for disabling my boyfriend's access to my Peloton account when he wasn't talking to me? So my boyfriend has had a rough 2020 because he loves to travel and he got laid off from his job at a very big commercial airline that allowed him to travel the world for free. Learning his uncle was diagnosed with cancer in December just added insult to the injury. He went into a pretty deep depression and gained a considerable amount of weight, and I've tried to be supportive by letting him use all of my memberships for free so he can save money while he looks for a job. I have been cooking healthy meals and I gave him access to my Peloton account so he could do his own workouts from home while I'm at work. We got into a really big argument last week because I fell asleep during a movie. This is his pet peeve, and there have been times in the past where he has stormed out of my place because I have fallen asleep during movies or shows he's suggested. When we were in therapy at one point, he said when I fall asleep, it makes him feel like I'm disengaged, and I totally respected and promised I would inform him when I was either too tired to watch something or was getting sleepy while we were watching something. Last weekend, he suggested we watch a documentary, and 15 minutes into the documentary, he asked me if I was falling asleep, and I said I was getting sleepy, but I wasn't sleeping. 2 minutes later, he insisted that I was sleeping. He said he could hear me breathing loudly, and when I denied it, he accused me of lying about falling asleep. He said the problem wasn't that I was sleeping, it was that I was lying about it. I told him I was tired and did not want to deal with his tantrums, and we called it a night. When I texted him the following morning, I didn't hear back, so I started to get worried. I saw that he had accessed my Peloton account less than an hour before, and figured maybe he was still upset and he just needs space. But he didn't call or text me back that day for 5 days and continued to use my account each of those 5 days. When I still haven't heard a word from him after 5 days, I disabled his access to my account. He accused me of being emotionally abusive when I did. According to him, I should have known he is not in a good place right now and might need space. He claimed to be doing some 14-day mind-body meditation challenge that I interfered with. I felt bad, but I told him he could have communicated that to me.
Yes.
But since he chose to ghost me instead, I had no way of knowing. Am I the asshole?
When I was a kid, as a punishment, my mom would constantly take my laptop away from me so that I couldn't interact with any of my friends or access the internet after school. At least that's what she thought. She eventually found out that I was accessing the internet through my old iPad, through my old DS Lite, through any means. Instead of having to remember every single device in existence to take from me, she started unplugging the Wi-Fi router. She thought she was being slick. But I'm smarter than her. I'm slicker. She makes a big deal one night about unplugging the Wi-Fi router and how she's gonna put it on top of the fridge, because if it's on top of the fridge, she can keep her eyes on it, and she knows that I won't be able to plug it back in or do anything with it. I decide to wait her out until she goes off to bed, and when she goes off to bed, she says, don't even think about doing anything, because I'm gonna get up throughout the night and check on it to make sure it's still there. I say, yeah, okay, whatever. I wait an hour until I'm pretty sure that she is asleep, and then I go and I dig out our old Wii console. When you place the Wii console vertically, it looks a lot like the side of the Wi-Fi router, since both of them were white. I took down the Wi-Fi router and I put the Wii console up there, and then I just went back into my room and plugged in the router. I was on the internet all night until my mom had to get up for work at around 5 a.m. So then I went and switched it just in case. And it worked too. Periodically, I would hear her go walk into the kitchen and check and then go back and lay down. I utilized this multiple times. There were also times when she would just unplug a cord and be like, I'm taking the cord with me to work, the internet cord. She doesn't know anything about technology at all. Her internet cord was an HDMI cord. You know, we have hundreds of those laying around the house. I would just go unplug the HDMI cord from my TV and use it as the Wi-Fi's HDMI. Save your old consoles and keep backups of all types of cords. You can outsmart any narcissist any day.